In a shocking turn of events, 23-year-old Alyssa Zinger of Tampa faces multiple felony charges after posing as a 14-year-old.
She was already in legal trouble, accused of having sex with a junior high school student.
In the tranquil city of Tampa, Florida, a disconcerting case threatens to steal its peace. Through an unnerving web of deceit, a 23-year-old woman named Alyssa Zinger disguised herself as a 14-year-old kid so she could molest minors. From burning questions on how she could have successfully carried out this horrifying act to the mental state of her victims, this is the unsettling story of the pretender who has sent the world reeling in shock. Here comes the accused perpetrator. One look at her and she is a grocery store worker. Another look and she is a young teenager dancing on TikTok to gain attention. But who is she really? Alyssa Zinger is a 23-year-old who worked at Publix grocery store in Florida. She was a pretty woman down the street who passed off as friendly and normal, blending in with the charm of the environment. No one knew what she hid beneath the charming facade until police stormed her house in November 2023. This seemingly calm blonde was suddenly charged with 2 counts of lewd and lascivious battery and 5 counts of lewd or lascivious molestation on a victim who was 12 to 15 years old. Everyone was astonished. When did the city's sweetheart commit all these crimes? The story dates back to May of the same year when Zinger met with one of her victims. Before physically meeting, Zinger had met the 14-year-old on TikTok and they migrated to Snapchat and continued chatting there. What seemed like a flowering teenage romance for the victim would later turn into his worst nightmare. Alyssa posed as a 14-year-old girl to this boy and everything seemed perfect. When asked where she went to school during their conversations, she mentioned that she was homeschooled and could only interact with the outside world through social media. The back-and-forth communication between the predating adult and her prey yielded trust for the minor, and he agreed to meet with her physically. That fateful day in May, they met at the boy's apartment and willfully had sex and engaged in other sexual activities. Zinger officially entered into a relationship with the boy, visited him countless times, and had sex totaling approximately 30 times throughout the relationship, which lasted from the end of May until mid-September. During these 3 months, Alyssa Zinger sent numerous sexually explicit images and videos of herself to the minor. But as expected, their relationship was quite toxic. The victim mentioned to investigators that Alyssa taunted him with the fact that she had also had sexual relations with 3 other middle school students in his school, Woodrow Wilson Middle School in South Tampa. Fed up with her cheating tactics in September, the child asked that they break up, to which Zinger agreed. However, the accused molester was not done with her victim. She had a more dastardly act up her sleeve. In October of the same year, Zinger showed up at the doorstep of the young boy with the excuse of needing a place to charge her phone. Without suspecting a thing, he let her in and unknowingly put himself in danger. A few minutes later, the minor went into the bathroom. Zinger rummaged through his things till she found his phone, opened it, and transferred a video she found on his phone of the boy and another underage girl having sex. While she was still using his phone, the victim stepped out of the bathroom and caught her red-handed. But Alyssa did not seem to mind. In annoyance, the victim successfully forced her out of his house, but she had gotten what she wanted, another child pornography video she could distribute. Without wasting time, she resumed chatting with other students from the same school as her victim. This time, she shared the sex video of her child ex-boyfriend with his classmates, and this threw the school into an uproar. Unable to bear the shame of his pornographic video trending around school, this minor messaged Alyssa Zinger asking her why she did this damaging act. But she laughed him off and said that was her way of paying him back for sleeping with another girl. That was when this 14-year-old victim realized that he could not handle the situation by himself and told his parents. The families of the other minors who also received the sexually explicit video from Alyssa on Snapchat reached out to the Tampa Police Department to let them know what was happening. Upon interrogating the victim, it became clear something absurd was going on in the city of Tampa. A child abuser was on the loose, and it was time for her to pay for her sins. The Tampa police detectives investigated through the bulk of text and social media messages where Alyssa Zinger schemed her way into the life of the minor, charging her with 2 counts of lewd and lascivious battery and 5 counts of lewd or lascivious molestation on a victim who was 12 to 15 years old. Alyssa was arrested on the 24th of November. Nevertheless, the child predator was granted bail a few hours later after posting bond totaling $52,500. But a greater surprise awaited the Tampa police when she was questioned. Upon interrogation, Alyssa told police that she was 14 years old and had a half-sister with the same name, both of which were staggeringly obvious lies. Zinger also told the police that she left her phone at home before turning up for the investigation. Citing other tangible evidence, police obtained a search warrant for the phone at her parents' house. But upon arrival at her parents' house, Tampa police faced a tricky situation. They requested Alyssa's phone but were given her mother's phone instead. Unable to recover her phone, they relied on their access to her Apple iCloud for evidence, and evidence they found. Looking through the accused molester's iCloud, police found a shared folder with several photos and videos containing explicit sexual content involving her and the 14-year-old boy. The boy's testimony about Alyssa admitting to having sex with 3 other juveniles kept the police on their toes. They needed to find these boys. Upon continuous investigation and encouraging the citizens to speak up, 4 more victims approached the police to testify. The presence of these extra victims sent fresh shockwaves all through the city. There were more victims, and they were all between 12 to 15 years of age. One of them, a 14-year-old, confessed to meeting Zinger through TikTok, and they started chatting over Snapchat. They eventually met for the first time in Gasparilla and engaged in sexual contact. In March 2023, Alyssa Zinger met with another one of her victims in a movie theater. Right after the movie, she made him feel at ease, took him to an apartment, and engaged in sexual activities with him. With the rise of these multiple horrifying testimonies and accusations, everyone knew that Alyssa Zinger was a child predator who should not be on the loose. Following this discovery, Amanda Baranowski, a detective with the Tampa Police Special Victims Unit who had enough evidence from Zinger's victims, solicited Hillsborough County for a way forward. On the 4th of April 2024, Alyssa was arrested again on 2 counts of lascivious molestation of a victim between ages 12 and 15, and 1 count each of possession of child pornography, transmitting of child pornography by electronic device, and sexual cyber harassment. The presence of the 4 additional accusers brings the number of her known victims to 5, with many more yet undiscovered. She now faces a total of 12 counts. While the accused perpetrator has not made any official statements since the case is still ongoing, her defense attorney, Daniel Fernandez, affirmed that she submitted a written plea of not guilty to the court. Zinger could be seen shaking her head in court as her charges were read out. However, this was before the confession of the 4 additional possible victims of her sex abuse spree. With this much evidence, she was rearraigned, and the Hillsborough County judge expressed her caution on Alyssa being set free on bail while the investigation is ongoing. The judge called Alyssa a threat who preys on these young boys and released an order withholding bond for the perpetrator while the case is still ongoing. In Zinger's defense, her attorney for the second arrest pleads with the judge for bail, citing the fact that Zinger broke no rules from the conditions of her initial release. However, the judge presiding over the case, Judge Laura Ward, sided with the state prosecution and the pressure of the parents out there demanding justice for the sexual dignity of their kids. Alyssa Zinger is now in jail with no hope of release until the investigation is closed. Nevertheless, many wonder, why did Alyssa Zinger pose as a 14-year-old so she could lure and molest teenage boys? Zinger's latest defense attorney, Dana Hurst-Fulgiera, responded by calling her client immature and attributed Alyssa's behavior to be due to mitigated mental issues while growing up. This was counteracted by the prosecution as not being an excuse for the accused to go around posing as a teenager and molesting young boys. With the excuse from Zinger's lawyer going over without results, Zinger is now being held in the Hillsborough County Jail without bail. Reports are still being put out for additional possible victims to speak up and to get justice. The Tampa Police Department accused Alyssa Zinger's parents of hindering the investigation by hiding evidence. Body camera footage recorded by one of the officers who went for the search warrant shows Alyssa's father possibly hiding Alyssa's phone. The prosecution believes that the couple was in on the act together, but they are yet to reveal whether Alyssa's parents will also be charged in court for hindering investigations by trying to hide evidence. To worsen matters further, Alyssa was caught in a shoplifting incident with a minor before her initial arrest. When confronted, Zinger told the police that she was 14 years old, despite being dressed maturely.